Am I going to cop NBA 2K27 this fall, or will I hold on to my trusted and my beloved NBA 2K25? And that's the $1 million question, or I should say that's the $80 question that I'm going to try to tackle in this episode of the Game Talk podcast on the Games with BK YouTube channel. All right, so what's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Game Talk podcast on the Games with BK YouTube channel. This is episode number 5. Now, Game Talk is my own little slice of the podcasting world where I kind of share out my thoughts on anything video game related. I don't have an actual set schedule for when I release these things. They just kind of pop up when the spirit hits me, when a topic really comes to mind. And although I kind of had plans to address this anyway, a question did come up recently during an online interaction on YouTube with another YouTuber by the name of Ep.5 Gaming. Check out that channel. That channel is excellent, especially if you are into like the sports games and the rosters and stuff like that. He's a very good resource. So check out his channel. So let me set up this episode by talking first about the question that was asked, and that was the question from Hoodie-Pop Gaming, Hoodie-Pop 22 Gaming, when I was interacting with him on his, I think it was the video that he dropped for a 2027 WNBA draft class file that he dropped in NBA 2K26. I was interacting with him. I mentioned that I had also been working on a 2027 draft class, but for the 2K25 game. I linked the segment for my Twitch stream, the BK style _82 Twitch stream that featured that 2027 WNBA draft class. And he asked me the question whether or not I was going to be getting the 2K27 game. And I responded by saying, I'm not really sure. I don't remember the exact words, but basically, I'm not real sure at this time. Like, there's some things that 2K27 could probably do that will make me more likely to buy the game. And that's what I'm going to try to address in this podcast episode. I'm gonna lay out a little background. I'm gonna try to do it quickly so I don't ramble too long. But basically, my mindset around sports games is that you don't necessarily have to get every year's iteration. Now, in the past, I have gotten like back-to-back years of games. But as time kind of wore on, that became less of a priority for me. And I would just manufacture replay value by just playing the same franchise mode or the dynasty mode from a college football game or Madden game or the NBA Live and 2K games, just year to year. Now, to give you a little bit of a idea or a little example, some context, back in like 2005 or 2006, I think it was 2005, because that's when the Madden 06 game and the NCAA football 06 game, when those games dropped, I kind of took a little deviation from buying the games every year. Up until that point, I was pretty much getting those titles every year. And in many cases, I was getting them on release day, going to the store, like GameStop or wherever, to get the game. But something changed around that time, and I can't even really put a finger on what it was. But from that point on, for like the next 4 to 5 calendar years, I just kept playing the same Madden game and the same NCAA football game just over and over and over again. And then I was able to kind of manufacture some replay value through the franchise mode / dynasty mode. Those games were interconnected to where you could put your draft classes and stuff, like import the draft class players from one game into the next. So I was able to just keep the thing flowing. And in the off season, I would try to do my best to change the rosters, make trades and all this other stuff to keep the game as fresh and accurate as I could. And that's how I got by. So I played the game during the sports actual season, like the fall into the early winter. Then during that off season time, I would refresh the game, add players and all this other stuff, and then continue on with the same dynasty mode or franchise mode. And I did that for like a good 4 or 5 calendar years up until like December of 2010, when the PlayStation 2 just literally just stopped working. It just burnt out. Ended up getting an Xbox 360 in 2010, and you know, I know that console lasted me like 10 to 12 years on its own. But for the similar process I took with the NCAA football 12 and the Madden 12 games, and then the NBA 2K 11 and 2K13 games. I rolled those out for multiple years at a time. and ended up with the Series X in December of 2022. Now, things were slightly different when I got the Series X because I started off with that console by getting 2K23 for free as a gift. The homeboy Johnny Castle hooked that up. I was going to ride that game out for multiple years, but then it started to glitch up with the franchise mode. Ended up getting 2K24 game late, like early in 2024. I think that's when it went on sale. And then I didn't even really play that. And then I got 2K25 with a gift card that somebody got me for my birthday in late 2024. And that's been the game that I've been riding out with the entire time. Similar thing with Madden, I guess, but except for I was not really buying those games. I played the Game Pass versions of the 22 and the 23 games, and then I got 24 on a discount, and then I kind of moved on to 25. That's the game that I'm rocking out with right now for Madden. All right, so now that you kind of get a picture of how I've approached sports games over the past 20 years or so, I'm gonna lay out my thought process and lay out some things that I would like to see 2K27 do. I know I've got to like 5 minutes to get to this point, but thank you for hanging in there. Being that I've pretty much set up my 2K25 franchise mode in NBA 2K25 and set up like draft classes and prepared well into the future with the expansion logos and all this other stuff, like it's going to take a little for 2K27 to win me over. I've already invested so much time and effort, so I got to see some stuff that will make it kind of worth its while. So the first thing I'm going to mention, and there's no particular order for any of these things, the first thing I'd like to mention is that I would be way more inclined to buy 2K27 if they included a My Eras mode for the WNBA side of the game. And it's funny that I bring this up because I really haven't played any of the classic content in NBA 2K25, but I like the fact that I have the ability to do that, especially as a Chicago Bulls fan. We're in some tough times right now. We ain't really winning. We got some draft picks this year that may or may not turn out to be something and help us get our franchise back on track, but we suck. Now, if I want to go back to the glory period of time when we were winning championships, I have the ability to do that. If I even want to go and try to rewrite history with the Derrick Rose era Chicago Bulls, I could probably do that. If I wanted to go back to the Baby Bulls era of the early 2000s where we were just still kind of toiling away, I'd have the opportunity to try to do that. So to be able to do something for the WNBA, especially as it celebrates its 30 years, that would be cool. Like, I would be able to go back in time and try to rewrite some of the wrongs for the New York Liberty. You know, they came up in this era as the original era of the WNBA, the inaugural years, as like the also-rans to the Houston Comets, and then they lost to the Sparks, and then in the earlier, like a couple of years ago, they were a victim of the Aces. So I have an opportunity with a My Eras mode to go back and play those specific time periods and try to win the championship with the New York Liberty, get second chances at that, and maybe even, you know, during the dark periods where I wasn't really as active of a fan. I'm not going to come up here and cap and lie to folks and act like I've been diehard with the league from day one. Like, I've been a casual fan for periods of the league too, and those periods usually coincided with the Liberty being terrible under Mr. Dolan. I'm not even a Knicks fan, but I kind of feel their pain. But yeah, I could go back to that time period and maybe pull them out of the doldrums a little earlier, you know, but just to be able to have that ability to go back in time and replay specific eras of the WNBA's 30 years would be a big draw for me going into a new game. Like, if I had to give up all the stuff I've invested in NBA 2K25 since I got it like a year and a half ago. Well, whenever, do the math. It came out in September of 2025, 2024 actually, and it is now May 2026. Do the math. I've invested a lot of time and effort into this video game, and it's gonna take a lot to pull me away. And that would be one of the things that could possibly help with the transition to a new game. All right, so one of the other things that NBA 2K27 could do to make me more likely to purchase it would be to find a way to detach the My Player or My Career mode from having that always online type connection to make it work. Like, I'm not a big My Player guy in the first place because I'm not really the one to really buy VC like that. I purchased it for NBA 2K23 when I first got the console and first got that game because I got the game for free. So I spent whatever the equivalent would have been for the video game itself on VC throughout the life of me playing that game. And I did that because I was also playing online against some of my friends in the whole rec league and all this other stuff. I was working my way through the My Player, and I wanted to have a halfway decent competitive build. And so I did that. I spent a few dollars here and there on building up that player. Now, the sad thing about it is that you can invest all of that time, and for a lot of people, hundreds of dollars. For me, it was like $60-ish, I would say, total. But you invest that money and then it's gone, because when the servers die in 2 years after the game's release, you no longer have the ability to go back and use that My Player for anything. Like, you can't do your career, you can't do nothing. And that wasn't how the My Player thing originally started, because I remember playing My Player on the NBA 2K11 game and being able to just play the games, play your career out. And along the way, they found out that you can tie people into this VC microtransactions world, and they started, not just NBA 2K, but a lot of games started locking up certain features and modes and functionality behind having an internet connection. And the whole Stop Killing Games movement, something I've been kind of following in the periphery, has been trying to aim to get companies to stop doing that, especially since they could basically yank the servers and you asked out, you out of luck. You ain't really got nothing to hold. Like, you could spend your money and basically you have a dead product when they kill the servers, which is crazy. Like, for me, I would probably play My Player if I knew that I could play it perpetually, because I'm not investing no money. Even with this 2K25 game, like, I've played a handful of my career games, like the individual story, but way less than I did for 2K23, because I'm not playing online against anybody. I don't care to be playing online against people, to be honest. I only really want to play my NBA games. The city is alright. Like, it's kind of fun, at least when I played 2K23, to walk around the city and see what it has to offer. But then that becomes kind of repetitive for me, because I'm not going to hang out in the city and buy, like use real money to buy fake clothes for My Player. I'm not doing that. That's just trash to me. But for the My Player that I have in the 2K25 game, all of the VC was generated in other modes. Like, I didn't put a single penny into buying VC for this game, because I know for a fact that at the end of this year, that server goes down and you effed. I was going to curse, but you're effed. But if they found a way to disconnect, like, say when the game dies, when the servers die, you could still play your NBA career the way that you could prior to all of this, then I'd probably get NBA 2K27, because then there's no pressure on me to really fight to buy VC, or I just play the game as I normally would play it. And that could even probably turn into some side content too, me trying to build my play up from scratch and grind away over a period of time, as opposed to trying to like go crazy with that mode and neglect all the other stuff that I really want to do in the game. All right, for the next thing I'm going to mention, I want them to borrow something from the WWE 2K series, and that's a series that people are kind of killing right now too, because 2K26 is bugging. They wilding with that game ringside pass and all the other glitches and bugs. But one thing that I could say about the 2K games is that when you want to upload custom images and logos, face scans and all that other stuff, you can do it locally, meaning you can upload it into their cloud server thing, but then you download it directly into your game. With NBA 2K, when you want to upload your custom logos and things like that for your like franchise modes and make teams, like expansion teams and stuff of that nature, it's like you got to do all that stuff completely through the cloud, meaning you have to have a connection in order to bring on new content. And then once you save it, it's like hosted in that cloud storage. So whereas the WWE 2K24 servers are down, all the stuff that I uploaded into my game are just stored in the game, and I can access it, create new players and all this other stuff based off of what I've already uploaded. Now the logos and stuff that I put into the NBA 2K game, once those servers go down, I have no access to it because I have to derive it from those cloud servers, and I'm not big on that. Now for the NBA 2K franchise mode stuff, and speaking more specifically about the WNBA side, I'd like the ability to play like a couple of preseason games just to do the actual cut down phase. Like you should be able to have a training camp roster and then do actual cut downs, similar to how you could do in Madden. Like Madden will let you play the preseason, and then every week you got to cut a certain amount of players till you get to your final rosters. I'd like for NBA 2K27 to honor that, especially since they have like the somewhat expanded rosters, because you can now have 2 developmental spots. You should be able to, hopefully they simulate that with the next NBA 2K27 video game, because as it stands right now, leading into the next season, you just got to cut players. You don't have no way to really try them out, test them out. I don't think you could do any practices during that off-season period, so you're just signing players, and if you have more than the 12, you can't really start your season unless you just cut down players. I'd like to weed out players via the preseason, like throw a couple of preseason games in there. I know that a lot of WNBA teams play against international teams. You might not be able to get the rights to those international teams, but maybe they could make generic squads or little select squads or preseason only squads that you play against that are comprised of free agents, maybe lower tier free agents, and you get to test out your players, your draft picks against them, something like that, just to have another layer of immersion in the franchise mode for the WNBA side of things. There's no G League or nothing like that, which kind of leads me to the next thing for the NBA side of the game. I'd like to see a stronger connection between the G League and the NBA portions in the franchise mode. I know that they probably won't give us a G League only franchise mode because maybe 3 people on the planet Earth would be interested in something like that. However, I would love to be able to control the G League rosters, and I would like to be able to have actual G League players populate those rosters. I don't know if the G League has a union. I'm assuming they do. They're professional players. It's probably some kind of organized body. But I'd like to see them integrated in the game, like the actual players from the G League rosters on their respective teams. I'd like to see or have the ability to trade players, maybe waive players from the G League teams, just to make things more accurate. I'm one of those kinds of guys. I'm one of those kinds of guys who would wait around for a couple of months to find a user created roster that includes all the G League teams, because I was trying to do that myself when I first got 2K25, and it became a hardship just based off of the time frame in which those G League rosters were finalized. But I would like to see maybe like an official NBA roster update that includes all G League players, the official players. You might not have all their face scans, but at least you have the players in the game, so that when you start your NBA franchise mode, you'll have all that stuff, and then you'll be able to bounce back and forth between the major team and then the G League team. You can kind of do that somewhat in NBA 2K25. You can go to the calendar schedule and look at the G League games and then play any of those. But I'd like to be able to like toggle something within the options in your franchise mode, like some kind of tab where you can just do that more seamlessly, as opposed to having to go to the NBA team's calendar and then looking for the G League games for that day and then playing through it that way. I'm not big on that as the method of going back and forth. I would like to have, like, say you have your NBA schedule and then you press down on the right joystick and then it takes you to the G League schedule, the G League teams, and you could just play through their schedule that way if you want. And then all of the transaction stuff would be controlled from there for their half of the franchise mode. I just want to be able to do that. That'd be a cool addition. Now for this section, all these suggestions are just kind of inspired by the fact that I've spent considerable amounts of time trying to make draft classes, WNBA draft classes, meaning I've been going through the created player suite. And these are the things that kind of frustrate me, that I feel like 2K27 has to have. Number one, the creation suite really doesn't change all that much year to year. I'm sure that they probably put a lot more effort into like the my player, my career type options, but like there's no excuse that in the year 2026 or 2024 for when 2K25 dropped, that you don't have the ability to add goggles and face mask to players. Like we had that ability back in NBA Live to make a player with goggles, like, and that was forever ago. Like you had the ability to add goggles to your created player. And it's not like players in the modern WNBA and the modern NBA haven't worn face masks and goggles. Like we've seen noteworthy players throughout the history of the game. Horace Grant, Kareem probably the biggest name to wear goggles. And their player models, from what I understand, have the goggles, but why can't we make other players, created players that have goggles? There's no real legitimate reason why, especially since, from what I understand, you can give your my player goggles. I think might have to pay money to do it. But if you have it available, like you have the technology and the ability to add goggles to a player, why not give that to us in the creation suite? It frustrated me to no end to create a player like Cheyenne Sellers in that 2025 WNBA draft class, or Olivia Miles in the 2026 WNBA draft class, or Staley Hurd in the 2027 WNBA draft class. All those players have goggles, and you cannot add goggles to them in the created player suite when you're making the draft classes or anything. And that's frustrating. And we know that Alicia Clark has goggles in the WNBA currently, and there's no excuse. There is really no excuse to why the created player options are so limited. I feel like if the NBA has all these different attire options, then they should be available in the created player suite, especially since in the my player mode, they will sell you things like do-rags. like come on, like you can't be that money grubby and that devoid of paying attention to what the gamers, like the simple things that gamers would like, to not include goggles. Like goggles are such a basic, I would call it fundamental part of like basketball equipment for certain players. If you're a player who wears prescription glasses, unless you're Kurt Rambis type dudes or whatever, I think he wears prescription glasses or wore prescription glasses, or either way, people have been wearing goggles since forever. And to not have goggles in the created player suite is just straight up neglectful. It might be minor to most people. You can get by without it. It's not a must have in the traditional sense, but it's inexcusable in a modern era basketball game to not have goggles in the created player suite. This next one is just kind of popped up into my head as I was thinking, kind of looking around, trying to figure out what other people would like in this game and see if something I would also like. I didn't see this anywhere, but I thought about this. How about coach DNAs? We can currently make player DNAs and make those things shareable, but how about if we can create coaches, design their playbooks, design their traits, and then share those? Like, for example, maybe I want to make Phil Jackson 1992, or maybe I want to make Tex Winters, and make assistant coaches, because I know that at least for the WNBA side, you are pretty limited with some of the things you could do as far as the coaches and stuff like that. But what if you could download an accurate, not inaccurate because it's a made-up player, it's a person who existed in real life but never, coached in the WNBA or anything like that. What if you wanted to make Pat Summitt for whatever reason, like the legendary late head coach? What if you want to make a Pat Summitt? What if you wanted to make a Gino Auriemma or a Dawn Staley as WNBA head coaches? To my knowledge, you can't really change their physical appearances or anything like that. You have a limited array of options to change their appearances, but you can't really make a coach straight up out the blue and just attach them to a team when you're in the franchise mode. So imagine if you had a coach DNA or create a coach type option within the franchise mode or within the game, and then you could make a Dawn Staley that looks somewhat like Dawn Staley, or coaches in a way that you determine and put them in your franchise mode. I just thought of that. That would be kind of cool, because what if you wanted to make an expansion team, the Philadelphia expansion team right now, and you wanted to make Dawn Staley the head coach? That'd be kind of cool to do. And I just thought about that one off the top of my head. And as it stands right now, I think that's pretty much all that I got in terms of the things that would make me interested and make me more likely to buy NBA 2K27. I'm still right now in this phase where I'm leaning towards the 2K25, as evidenced by all the effort I put into my franchise mode and all the stuff that I'm doing. By the way, cheap plug, go check out my New York Liberty franchise mode. I got 2 seasons in the book, got a 3rd one on the horizon as I'm recording this. By the time I air it, we might already be into season 3. But yeah, just check out the rest of the stuff I got on the channel. In general, I like to really highlight the college football stuff, because I feel like I put a whole lot of editing and work into that one, more so than in any other series. So yeah, go check that out. Be on the lookout for more Game Talk podcast episodes, because they pop up sporadically. And if you want to just subscribe to the channel, hook a brother up. I'm on my way to 100 right now. I don't have a whole lot of subs right now, but I appreciate every last person who decided to click the subscribe button. It don't cost you nothing, and I don't monetize. I can't monetize this channel, and this is like a nice little side hobby for me, something that provides me a little bit of a creative outlet. So I'm always appreciative to people who show support. Thanks for checking out this video, and if you got some time, check out some of the other content that we have on the Games with BK YouTube channel.
Wait, that's me.